we're going to look at something that is one of my most favorite things to do with angles, and that is drawing angles. So it's super fun, super easy. We're going to keep things really exciting and use an orange protractor today. As long as you follow some steps in a very specific order and you remember those steps, you'll find it very easy and you won't make mistakes. It's important to be as accurate as possible. So the first step in drawing any size angle is you're going to use the straight edge of your protractor and you're just going to go ahead and draw a ray. So it doesn't matter if you put the end point on this end or if you put the end point on that end, it really doesn't make a difference. You decide how you want to do it. I like to draw it in the middle of the paper because you want to have lots of room. So let's pick a random angle. Let's say we want to draw an angle of 55 degrees. So the first step, like I said, use the straight edge. You do a straight line, you're drawing a ray, you need an end point. And then you're going to line up your center mark with your end point. You're going to line up your baseline with the 0. So it's everything you would do if you were measuring an angle instead of drawing it. So those two steps are the same. And then you're going to see where the line goes through the 0. Does it go through the center, the lower scale or the upper scale? It goes through the lower scale. So I'm going to read the lower scale until I get to 55 degrees. So inner scale, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And now I do have to use these little notches, even though they're on the outer scale, because that's going to help me find the 55. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 55 obviously is halfway between 50 and 60. And so then I'm going to find the spot up here that's the halfway mark, and I'm going to put a dot right where the protractor meets the paper. Right, don't do it up here because that will be hard to check that it's accurate. I can see that it's 55 right there. Don't be confused by the 120 and 130 because that's on the outer scale. All right, now that I have that little dot there, I'm going to line up my straight edge with my center mark and my marker for the 55 degrees. And I'm just going to do a big line and turn it into a ray. And I have just drawn a 55 degree angle. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it EFG. So angle EFG equals 55 degrees. And you always want to ask yourself, does this make sense? That an angle that looks like this, it's an acute angle, would measure 55 degrees. Yes, it does make sense. If you got 155 degrees, you'd be like, wait a minute, this is acute. That can't be 155 degrees because 155 degrees is obtuse. Okay, let's try drawing one in a different way. Same rule applies. Let's imagine we're drawing an angle of, let's do an obtuse one this time, 125 degrees. Same thing. You're going to use your straight edge. You're going to try to go somewhere in the middle of your page so you have plenty of room. You're going to draw a line. Decide where you want the end point to be. Doesn't matter. Let's put it on this side just to keep things exciting. And then I'm going to put my ray on the other end. Okay, so I'm going to line up my end point, my vertex, with the center mark. I'm going to line up this line with my baseline until I'm really happy it's nicely lined up. I'm going to look and see where it crosses the 0. Is it on the inner or the outer? In this case, it's the outer. So I'm going to be using my outer scale, which is actually a little easier for drawing when you have the outer scale. And I'm going to go all the way up to 125. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. I know that 125 is between 120 and 130, and there's the spot where it's halfway. So I'm going to put a little dot right where it meets the protractor. I'm going to then use the straight edge of my protractor carefully, and it's important to be as precise as you can here. I'm going going to finish my ray. Let's call this, let's call it P, Q, R. This is an obtuse angle. It's larger than 90 degrees. And I know this because a 90-degree angle would be about there and it's bigger. So it makes sense that this angle is 125 degrees. If it was 20 degrees, I'd go, oh no, hang on. I may have used the outer scale when I should have been using the inner scale, or the other way around. Okay, that's how you draw angles. Now it's your turn.